what works for your parents in terms of how they thought about money, how they acted on money 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago may not be what works for you now. It doesn't mean your parents are wrong or were wrong. It doesn't mean that they actively sabotaged your adulthood. It means that you currently benefit from their risk-taking in bringing you to this great country. And you're not in survival mode, but you're still acting with money like you're in survival mode, looking for safety when maybe you can find safety plus growth. Maybe you can find abundance without taking on that much more risk. So I want to really encourage you to think through what money mindset and template that you have given to you by whomever, it really doesn't matter, and how you're applying it.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Silvas. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community. I am so excited to welcome you to another solo episode here with yours truly, Amy Silvas. For those who I haven't met, I am the founder and principal of Silvas Capital. And at Silvas Capital, we buy large commercial properties in the best markets in the United States with our investors to help them generate hands-off real estate income and diversify outside of Wall Street. We have this podcast because we want to help folks get to their ultimate freedom goals. Investing, money, these are all just a vehicle, not a destination. So you hear me talk about this every solo episode that we have, but thankfully, the podcast is growing so rapidly that we get to introduce this concept. So here at the podcast, we believe the destination is owning your time, being able to take vacations when you want, having the freedom to be around people who share the same values as you, having geographic freedom, living where you want, having such overflow financially that you can give back to your community or causes that really resonate with you financially, all of those things. And the vehicle to get to that destination very often is hands-off income that comes to you whether you are sleeping or traveling. Like my family and I just got back from the USC-Michigan game. We went to the big house in Ann Arbor. Or God forbid you're sick or you're taking care of sick family members. All of these things are scenarios where if you're like me, you were raised to think income means you have a job or you have a company where you have to work a lot to earn the living and the income that is needed. But in reality, we can earn income that comes into our bank account when we're doing other activities. So these solo episodes are exciting because we like to talk about this vehicle, this financial vehicle of independence, abundance that can help us ultimately get to our non-financial goals of doing what we want, when we want, where we want, with whomever we want, for however long we want. So let me catch you up. As I mentioned, sadly, USC fell to Michigan, came down to the last minute. We were in that end zone. It was tough to see our Trojans lose, but gosh, did we have such a fun time in Michigan. Almost every person we encountered in that great state, whether Detroit or Ann Arbor, were so friendly, wanted to make sure we had fun. I mean, what a great hobby, right? To be able to use college football to travel around, meet new people. My mom was born in Detroit, so she hadn't been back since the 60s. It was neat to see where she grew up for the first few years of her life and where her house was and her grandparents' house was. Really special experience. So that's on the personal level, what's been going on with us. And on a global level, or maybe a macroeconomic level, the Federal Reserve just cut rates by 50 basis points. Very exciting, very interesting. I don't think that that's going to necessarily skyrocket commercial real estate, but it is going to cause a number of people who've been on the sideline over the past 2.5 years while the Fed has been raising and holding steady to jump back into the market. And increased demand is, all things equal, is favorable for the market. So we're excited. We've continued to buy over the past 2.5 years and get really, really great investment deals for our investors. But now is likely the beginning of the time where we're going to see really exciting payoff from buying over the past 2.5 years. Okay, so today's topic, after I've kind of caught you up with local and personal news, today's topic is I want to review a conversation I had with an investor. I'm not going to use his name. We're going to keep this person anonymous, but it really made me think about how all of us act out our financial blueprints. And what this means is it's often a subconscious conversation or thoughts that we have. It's not even at the conscious level about what money is, how money works, whether money is good or bad, whether money is hard or easy to get, whether it's available to us or accessible to us as people. We all have these money blueprints. And if you're lucky, you got a very powerful money blueprint from your family that empowers you and opens up possibilities and helps you understand how money is on your side. But many of us may have learned from school, maybe religious organizations, or American culture, a different money blueprint that may be holding us back without us even realizing what's going on. So I want to share some of this conversation to help you examine your own money blueprint. Because look, I would argue the majority of us have amazing families of origin and great teachers, and no one was, looking at you as a baby thinking, oh, I'm going to sabotage their ability to make money and have prosperity and abundance in their life, right? I don't think that was anyone's goal, most likely. But you may be finding yourself, as I speak to some people, that can't quite figure out, they have the skills, they have the work ethic, but why are they not able to create abundance and overflow in their life? Why do they seem to be stuck and stagnant? And if you're like me, I used to always think it was a skill issue. Oh, I don't have the tools at my disposal or the knowledge, or because of my health challenges, I didn't always have the time. But there may be another factor that I want you to take a close look at for yourself, which is these subconscious templates, if you will, that you may be carrying around. So let's get into this story and then we'll extract meaning from it. We'll talk through it briefly. This gentleman, this investor that I have, is the child of, he's an adult man now, but he grew up in the United States. After the age of 7, he and his parents immigrated from Eastern Europe. So we think about what that must have been like, right? I always start with empathy. What that must have been like just as a person to pick up your family, he's one of 2 children, and move clear across the world to a place that speaks another language where they didn't have relatives or friends, and hope for a new and better life than where they're currently living. That takes inordinate courage, determination, grit. I'm just in such awe for people, who decide to chase their dreams and create a better life for themselves and their children and future generations. I think that's amazing. But as I talk to him, he's now obviously an adult, he's older. He's not quite getting the results that he wants in his financial life. And so we're talking through, I never give investment advice, but I love to talk to people. I give education, I share what I do. And in this conversation came to light that, both of his parents came to the United States with these little children without any relationships or people that they could rely on, no safety net, as immigrants, and chose to work in city jobs for safety, which makes complete sense, right? The amount of risk that one has to take to move across the world with little children, knowing nobody, having not a safety net whatsoever, it makes sense to choose a job and an occupation that is almost guaranteed, right? City workers, it's a very steady Eddie type employment, great benefits, maybe tougher to get fired, a pension. If I immigrated to a new country, which I can barely imagine doing myself, but if I had to do that, I would think that that would be something I would do too. You want to minimize as much risk within your control as you possibly can. You're already taking on a bunch of risk. Why not minimize it where you can? And an income source, a steady income source with great benefits, maybe union, makes complete sense. So as a result, he's mentioned that his parents taught him, whether overtly or covertly, whether saying it outright or through their actions and through their family culture, that money is difficult to get a hold of, that choosing a safe job or a safe source of income is the most important thing out there, that taking risk with employment or ways to earn money is not a good idea. In fact, could be disastrous. So he and his sister, as a result, as adults, both have chosen careers that are very steady, very almost guaranteed income. If you drew a line with one side being the most risky occupation versus the least, he and his sister are both in some of the least risky occupations out there. He wasn't aware when he was a young man why he chose those jobs, right? Not consciously. Now he talks about it, he gets it, he understands why. But my point is, we may all be taking steps in our financial life, whether it's a career, whether it's how we invest, whether it's us thinking, hey, money's the root of all evil, and I'm not a good person if I want to have excess and overflow. Or who am I to think that I can earn more money than my parents or my family? Or, oh my gosh, people are going to look at me like I'm a greedy, awful human being if I have more money than I can ever use, or I don't have to work for my money. It comes monthly in the mailbox through my investments. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of baggage that might be there. And I would argue most of it is not baggage that someone gave to you intentionally and is not something maybe you're aware of either. But nonetheless, it's there, making decisions for us, maybe not even within our awareness. So this investor, this gentleman, is trying to figure out why he feels like his standard of living is decreasing year in and year out, even though he has a good job in his mind and he's good with money. But he just feels like he's falling more behind. So the conversation was around, well, since 2020, around 40% of all dollars ever created were from 2020 and 2021. You would be saying, Amy, what the heck does that mean? What does that have to do with your investor? What does that have to do with me? Well, if you create more currency, which in the United States, it's $1, they're going to buy less. Each dollar will buy less the more dollars are circulating, right? The Federal Reserve is mostly responsible for that. And it's this hidden tax that every person has to deal with. And the people that get hit the most are those on fixed incomes, right? Disability, Social Security, and the poor. But also the average middle class folks get hit hard too if their W-2 wages haven't increased with inflation, with the increase in salary. And I'll tell you what, for most people, it hasn't, sadly. I'll probably do a LinkedIn post next week talking about the hard numbers, the hard dollars and cents. So if you don't follow me on LinkedIn, you really should, because I give a lot of free, great content. Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. We'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to silvuscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is silvuscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. So this gentleman is grappling with, okay, I chose this job mostly for security. Nothing wrong with that. But when we talk about what are his goals in life, he wants to not feel like he's falling further and further behind. And he's realizing that having just one stream of income from a W-2 job that has not and likely will not keep up with inflation means he's actually getting a pay cut every year. This is very far from the safety and security that his parents taught him, again, consciously or unconsciously, that this was the best type of job situation for him. So the conversation has really evolved to, and I'll voice this kind of hypothesis to you all as well, because most of us learn about money, how it works, how we should think about it, how we should earn it, what meaning we assign to it. Most of us learn it from our parents, maybe society, maybe religion, but I would say primarily our parents. A mindset and a rule book for money that served your parents and their circumstances may not serve you and your circumstances now. I'm going to repeat that. What works for your parents in terms of how they thought about money, how they acted on money, how they earned it, the meaning they assigned to it, what worked for them 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago may not be what works for you now. It doesn't mean your parents are wrong or were wrong. It doesn't mean that they actively sabotaged your adulthood, your money-making ability. It means that, like this investor, maybe they came from an area and had to migrate in the United States and had to really work on just surviving. And you currently benefit from their risk-taking in bringing you to this great country, not perfect, but a great country. And you're not in survival mode, but you're still acting with money like you're in survival mode. This isn't Eastern Europe. This is the United States. Doesn't mean we're perfect, doesn't mean we're better, but I would argue we are likely in a better situation than 1990s Eastern Europe in 2024, the United States. But you're still acting in scarcity mode of looking for safety when maybe you can find safety plus growth. Maybe you can find abundance without taking on that much more risk. Do you see what I'm saying? So I want to really encourage you to think through what money mindset and template that you have given to you by whomever, it really doesn't matter, and how you're applying it. I think of my parents in the 1980s when inflation, true inflation, was, we just gone through the Paul Volcker thing, right? The 70s, the high inflation had ended. This was the 80s, and they brought inflation, the Fed had brought inflation, down to 2 to 3%. But to get there, interest rates for a while were still high, in the high teens. What you need to do to have abundant finances in a low inflation, high interest rate environment is completely different than what you need to have in terms of a mindset and skill set in a higher inflation, lower interest rate environment that we just got out of. And spoiler alert, we're likely going back to some pretty high inflation. I'll tell you that. We can talk about that another time. It's different. But what if you're applying your parents' 1980s high interest rate, low inflation toolkit mindset to 2024, where inflation's likely to return and rear its ugly head, and the Fed still has to cut interest rates because the interest on our national debt is higher than the United States defense spending. Woo. I hope you get what I'm saying. It's these unexamined things that go on that can really be holding us back. And we may think, gosh, I'm just not working hard enough. Gosh, I need to enroll in this next program to up my skills, to invest, to get more hands-off income. I mean, all that's fine. Work hard, educate yourself by all means. But you can do all of that. And if your mindset isn't right, if you're still acting out of scarcity instead of abundance, if you're still acting like interest rates are 17% when they're 5 or 4 soon or 3, the outcome, you may not get to the outcomes that you want. So it's been a real pleasure talking to this gentleman and helping him realize, he already knows his parents are incredible people. What they did really set him up for an amazing life. Thank God they're doing great. But as he looks to reach the next level of financial freedom, financial abundance, financial independence, the mindset, the skill set that he was taught, it may be time for him to adjust it a little bit for where he lives, the circumstances in which he lives, the macroeconomic environment, all of those things. And I'll be really excited soon to be able to report back to you all kind of the adjustments he's made with his permission, and the results that he's had as a result of those shifts. So I think while many of us should be focusing on, the average return or risk-adjusted return of an investment and the knowledge that we need to make and the great decisions to invest and how to create a life that we want to live on our own terms, we just want to make sure we're not being held back by our mindset. All right. I love this topic. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor today. This podcast is only possible because of you all, because of your support. You all rate, you review. I am so grateful for your loyalty to the podcast, and we want to keep growing. We must keep growing. So if you found this episode helpful, educational, thought-provoking, even if you didn't agree with me, think of one person right now, hit that share button and text it over to them, email it over to them and say, hey, I thought you'd be interested in this. This is a quick, I don't know how long I've been talking, 15 or 20-minute podcast. Listen to it at 2x speed and take a listen. We'd love to have these ideas serve as many people as possible. And you are the vehicle. You have the network. You have people who could benefit from this information. So before you take off, please share with a friend, give them that gift. And thank you all again for your support. I hope this is helpful. And I look forward to talking to you on the next episode. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Silvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.